Hey there. Welcome to Filler. I'm Steve.
And I really wish that Spindrift made beer.
You do.
Because we're on only episode 2 of Bruce Springsteen. But I'm Joe. And I feel better after that sip.
They do make spiked Spindrift.
But it's not the same as beer.
It's not.
And with a show about Bruce Springsteen, a true American, a real American, I'm not going to be drinking hard seltzer.
Well, the first thing Bruce drank, I think, was tequila. So you could throw a little tequila in a seltzer and like a lime seltzer.
Respect. I would drink that. I'd have that. That sounds nice.
I wouldn't. I hate tequila, but I also don't drink anymore.
You don't?
No.
That's why I didn't bring you one. I hope you didn't take that as me not doing the solid of being a friend.
No, that was more thoughtful by not bringing me.
Right?
Yeah.
The other night we were at a show and I offered Thomas a beer, our drummer, because he was playing with Union Fool. And you gotta warm the drummer up. And you gotta make him feel special and safe. And he was like, yeah, give me a High Life. I didn't even ask you, and I felt so bad not asking you if you wanted something to drink, but I was like, no, Steve doesn't drink. And then a couple minutes later, you asked me if there was water.
That's right.
And I got you water, and I was like, this is how I can be a friend. I can go check and bring him a water. Because he's thirsty now. I was very happy that it happened. That all went through my head.
That's a beautiful journey, and
much more beautiful than one down the river. Boing.
I wish we had this filmed sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
All right, yeah, we're on part 2 of the Bruce Springsteen series, and we did all of his albums, his studio albums from the 1970s in the last episode, and now we're on to the 80s, which is easily the most consequential decade for Bruce. But we have to start with the river. Look, I'll get this out of the way. October 17th, 1980. It's a double album composed of a mix of fun party songs and story songs. And it's recorded with full band tracking. So it was meant to convey in an album what an E Street Band's concert's energy and experience is like. I would say it succeeds in capturing that fun in theory more so than to actually listen to. I was the most disappointed by this album and most surprised that I do not like it very much, because when I think of this album, I think of the title track, The River, which I love and I think is one of his best story songs ever.
Yeah.
And it's based on his sister, like her actual experience.
Oh, wow.
Getting pregnant as a teenager and getting stuck in a working class life before she even really had a choice, with a guy that he takes the narrator role of in the song, which is, it's weird, but you try not to think about it being about a sister. It's just creative liberty, whatever. He's not singing about fucking his sister. Like it's not.
But now I'm thinking he might not.
No, but it is interesting that the guy or her husband, like, he didn't like him very much at first, but still honored them with this song. And then I guess he turned into a good guy who, like, stepped up for the family. And I think they went on to have like 2 more kids. And it's a great song. But this is a double album with a lot of filler on it. And it's just, it drives me crazy. Like this actually bothered me to listen to.
Yeah, I wrote that about Jackson Cage. My exact note, Jackson Cage is the 3rd track on it. And it is filler on a double album.
Yeah.
Just don't make a double album then. Make one album.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of material there to make an average Bruce Springsteen album.
Yeah.
Right? Like one that we could say, okay, that was an album by Bruce Springsteen and I didn't hate it. This I kind of hate because it's so trudging to get through. It's like muck.
Yeah. So the reason they did it, and it took them 2 years between Darkness and this, is they had a lot of leftover material from Darkness, and Bruce had made like some money, but had never paid income taxes because he didn't know how, or that he was even supposed to, because he lived off the grid for the start of his adult life.
I was going to say like a true billionaire, but then you...
No, because he was literally poor and was like, what is there to tax?
Right.
But then he made money and was like, oh, I got to pay taxes on this. So he was in monstrous debt to the IRS.
Oh, okay.
Through the end of the 70s.
Okay.
So I think part of making this album was, let's give the fans their money's worth by putting out like a 23 song album or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And try to capture the live show so people will get excited to come to the live show and spend money on the tickets to get us out of the hole. But it actually worked out because he did a real spaghetti at the wall thing to get his first big hit, and I think his only number one hit, if I'm remembering correctly, Hungry Heart, which I have always wondered, and I wonder if you can confirm this, why he sounds so different on that song.
Yeah, I looked into it because I was very confused. Apparently his voice was sped up on the record.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense because this album was a nightmare to mix. They said, like, they tracked everything live. Then they had Jimmy Iovine come in and listen to it. And he said, so when are you doing the vocals? But he'd already done the vocals. You just couldn't hear them. So it was a nightmare for them to try and like mix and get it to sound good. So how they even got it done, I don't know.
This is one of those things where knowing Bruce through his memoir, knowing him up until this moment, I'm surprised that he didn't take control and say, we got to scrap it. We got to do better. Because he has a standard set for himself, and this doesn't meet his standards.
I don't think so. But I also think he's trying to loosen up here a little bit to allow for the more fun songs that sometimes work and sometimes don't.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the chorus of Sherry Darling, but it is a very outdated song even then.
I thought it was old sounding for 1980. It sounded like a 50s song.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just
Which is cool if you're doing like a pastiche once. But there's like a bunch of songs like that on here.
And he was already pretty Roy Orbison-y on Darkness.
Yeah.
So it's like he's taking that a step further, and that's where it starts to...
Yeah, because at least Darkness sounded like Roy Orbison, but serious.
Yeah.
And this is just Roy Orbison.
Yeah, which we don't need.
Yeah, we already have Roy Orbison. I don't know. This album does have some highlights. Hungry Heart. It is a Stone Cold classic. I love the song.
It's a Billy Joel song. It's a Billy Joel song.
Okay, well, Billy Joel has a lot of good songs, Joe.
Okay. You showed me.
But it's cool because, like, what other song that sounds this fun is about a bum running out on his family and treats that bum's unfulfillment in life with understanding?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I do like that part of it.
Yeah. Out in the Street, I really like because I saw him open a concert with that too, and it was a great opening. And the whole time I'm listening to it, I'm thinking of the things they do differently with it live that make me like it more, remembering that. So this is why I say half the appeal of Bruce is the live show, because it's like you're unlocking DLC to his music,
That makes sense. I liked Crush on You.
Yeah, we both said it sounds like a Rolling Stones song.
Which I'm into. That's fine. I like the Rolling Stones.
I love the Rolling Stones. I think that's the first time I've heard him actually like lean into that influence.
I didn't like You Can Look But You Better Not Touch.
No, I said, oh my God, I don't care.
I thought, I said, did he write that song just for weddings? Because he didn't have to do it. No one asked for that.
And then he gets to I Want to Marry You, and I say, for fuck's sake, just get to the river.
Yeah. The river, I thought, was him doing House of a Rising Sun.
Okay, explain that.
I think it's by The Animals.
The Animals, yeah.
Yeah. I just remembered having this, like, slow-building story song that's kind of gothic, kind of dark, kind of sad. You feel for everybody, but at the same time, nobody's really the good guy.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe throughout it, and I just kept moseying along with it. Kind of similar to it being called The River.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was just going with it the entire time. I really, really loved going down to the river, even though I know the river is dry. I think that's a haunting lyric, and like the way the majority of the lyrics on House of the Rising Sun are haunting. I can see this being a song that would come on after House of the Rising Sun in a playlist, and someone being like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. Or it just makes sense. It flows well in a mix.
There's so many great moments in the river, and I think it builds up really well. When he gets to the line, I forget what the line is exactly, but something like, these memories come back to haunt me. And he like shouts it, these memories come back to haunt me. Call me just like a curse. Is a wish a dream that don't come true, or is it something worse? It's like it's just some great rhyme and like asking big existential questions, all framed with like this, young pregnancy and like the going through the motions of life and thinking of your missed potential and whatnot. When people say that the bridge of Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan sounds like a Springsteen story, this is exactly what they're talking about.
Okay, I can see that.
You know, that when you wake up next to him in the middle of the night, like this to me is one of the best examples of his songwriting and storytelling. And I could see an album being named The River because of the strength of the song.
Yes.
But I don't know why it's this album.
I wish it wasn't this album.
Because then we get Cadillac Ranch.
Dude, I hated Cadillac Ranch. Okay, but before we get into disc 2, one of the things I noted on this album, coming for you, Max Weinberg. Almost everything is a rim shot. Mm-hmm. And it pissed me off. Not in the way where it's like he's standing on the cover and he's got a guitar, but all we hear is piano. It pissed me off in a way like it's just boring.
Yeah.
Like you can do something else. Maybe don't play the snare. Mm-hmm. Maybe do a cool bass drum or a tom thing or whatever. But like do a rim shot on a tom. That's weird. I don't even know what that sounds like, and we're sitting next to a drum set. Like I just got so sick of hearing snare rim shots. And at the end of The River, the song, I was like, you know what? You brought me back up. Yeah, there was some filler on it, but like I hope disc 2 is going to be better. And then Point Blank starts with some stupid more rim shots. Yeah. And I felt like I was listening to the second disc of California by Blink-182. It was just I couldn't do the lounge crap anymore.
Okay, to be fair though, the second disc of California is better than the first.
You thought so.
I will die on this hill.
Go ahead.
The second disc has Parking Lot and 6-8. Those songs alone are better than all of disc 1.
Yeah, that's fine.
But no, it gets to disc 2, and like I like Point Blank. I like the bossa nova thing it's got going on. It's different for him. My parents really like Point Blank, but I have a story about one of the songs on this album. It's Drive All Night. My dad once played this song over and over and over and over.
Why?
And over and over and over on a road trip. And it is a like 10-minute song.
Yep.
And it's one of the most meandering things Bruce has ever written.
Yeah.
I'm physically incapable of looking at this song critically because I will never not hate it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't skip it. I listened to it because I didn't skip a single thing.
It sucks that it's the penultimate song on the album too. Yeah. Like you can't even just get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. You get there and you think he's like starting to make a point or whatever, and he's not.
He's not.
It's just I thought Drive All Night was a worse version of November Rain by Guns N' Roses. I don't remember why I said that.
I saw that note in the doc and I was like, I can't wait to see where he's going with that.
I don't know. I got to re-listen to it. Maybe Editor Joe will say something here. Probably not. But I'll go back and listen to it. Maybe that'll be a blue skeet that I can post. But I like the guitar on it. But I saw that it was 8.5 minutes, so I said, okay, I'll go dissociate now. Yep. I couldn't do any more of it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of.
I hated. I'm gonna try to defend a little bit of it.
Okay.
Which I think it'll be a fun spin. Cadillac Ranch pissed me off, which I know it bothered you too. Yeah. I thought it was a pastiche of him. Mm-hmm. Cadillac Ranch is what I think of Bruce when I think of him at his worst. Yeah. That's what I think of. Like, this is the Bruce that I make fun of, where it's like singing about American cars and Ford. Like, that was what I got.
So I originally had this note as something about Born to Run, the title track. That I hate when people equate Bruce with like the people that copy him, like John Mellencamp, but especially like country artists. Okay. Like modern country artists. Okay. Bo Burnham has a great bit about this. It's his song Pandarin. Have you ever heard it?
Not familiar.
It's fantastic. He does like a parody country song and he straight up says like, why is it that Bruce Springsteen can sing a song about a fucking turnpike and it's considered art, but country does it and it's like, it's some stupid backwoods shit. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on to make the most like keyword formulated generic country song. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite things he's ever done. And it really touches on something with me with like modern country music, because I in general do not like country music. I can respect the older stuff. I like some Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, things like that. But like Jason Aldean, Florida Georgia Line, they're like the worst things I can imagine. So to anyone who says Bruce is no different than country artists singing about dirt roads and pickup trucks, here's the difference. Bruce asks questions, tells the stories of people daring to leave their shitty towns in search of a better life. The road he's singing about is a path to new possibilities. Broke country posers like Jason Aldean and any artist like him just sing about roads as roads. They're reveling in willful ignorance and pride in staying dumb and poor, ascribing the romance to staying right where they are instead of daring to see what else is out there. And they're also just literally using keywords to attract dipshits who listen to them.
It's like SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be caught dead on the farms they sing about working.
Yeah.
And this is all in that Bo Burnham song too. Bruce embraces that he never wanted that working class life and worked at what he wanted to do, so he'd never have to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
But can still relate to working class people on a human level through his work ethic, family upbringing, mental health struggles, and interest in their stories.
Yeah.
But Cadillac Ranch is just about a car.
So
it sucks, man.
It does suck. And this is where I come in defending the River Disc 2.
Okay.
Because Stolen Car
is good.
That might be my favorite song on the River, the double album, aside from the River itself. And I feel like this is where he gets the idea for Nebraska from.
It feels like a Nebraska prototype.
Right? It starts to like get the seeds there. I love how the guitar sounded. I love the background vocals buried so deep. I love that the piano was just ambience in it. This is my favorite Bruce, which I start to like piece together my idea is that it's messed up, but I think I like Bruce when he's saddest.
Yeah.
And I think when he has a message to deliver straight from his heart through a character, which I think he thinks is through a lot of songs, but when they're too upbeat, that's just not where it hits for me. I prefer the melancholy stuff.
Yeah.
So what I said about Stolen Car was after Cadillac Ranch, I was like, oh, it's a car song that's not about a car.
Yeah.
Which I thought was novel, but it's really dark.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It's heartbreaking. And it's in one of those other songs where it has like that haunting last line or haunting close to last line. I'm driving a stolen car on a pitch black night and I'm telling myself I'm going to be all right. But I ride by night and I travel in fear that in the darkness I'll disappear. Dude is wrestling with heartbreak, depression, anxiety, everything in that one verse, that it's like, you can do that. And then you give us Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're capable of it. You can do these things. And I think that's why he pisses me off in some aspects, because you have such talent as a guitarist, as a songwriter. And then you give us like party songs that, like, I get it. You have a mass appeal audience. I get it. That's part of your identity too. But dude.
And it is important. And like, the thing is, we've seen the bar be really high for a party song with Rosalita.
Yeah.
And that's,
you can do that.
And that song is about something.
Right. So why don't you do that more?
I'd say, no one can do it all the time. But personally, and I am not going to sit here and say I know better than Bruce fucking Springsteen.
I might.
But when I write a song that I don't think is that good, I don't show it to you or the other members of the band because I don't believe in it enough to be like, let's work on this.
Yeah.
Even if it's not done, if it had something that excited me that I thought we could all build out together, that'd be one thing.
Right.
But this album doesn't have the paring down.
No.
Especially After Darkness was a huge pare down of like 8-1 songs, like and to get the right songs, even when he had other hits on his hands. I can't help but feel disappointed, but I will say Wreck on the Highway, I kind of liked it. I think all those filler rock songs on this album, I hate that it ends on 2 ballads in a row.
Yeah.
But this is one of the better songs on the album because it's a good story.
It might be one of the better songs, but by getting here, you've lost me.
Yeah.
So by this point, even if you have a better song, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of like really toxic and bitter with him that I hope he fumbled fans with this album. And I imagine he didn't.
No, because it had Hungry Heart on it.
Because it had Hungry Heart and
so
they wanted it. Yeah. But he
made
just
him take off more.
dude, it bothered me so much because to talk about like those party songs, Ramrod, that is a boring party song, and it makes me so mad and sad and angry about it because I know that there's more to him, and also he didn't use Clarence enough.
Yeah.
On the river, you have the big man. Use the big man. Like you lean on him literally, and he doesn't show up, and he's the rock of your band.
Yeah.
If you're not going to play guitar solos, use your saxophonist. If you're not using your saxophonist, what are you doing?
But how much more is it before he becomes like, okay, there's the saxophone. You know,
I already felt like that, and now I'm missing it. So,
so I had one more note here for context. His original intent was to put half of these songs onto a single album, but then felt something was missing and that the fans deserved more. So he wrote more. The band recorded them all. They labored away at mixing it. In my perfect version of this album, it'd be just the 10 best songs, and the others would be like a B-sides collection or the River outtakes or something, which could have fed fans in between another lengthy album cycle. And he could have still played all the songs on the tour. I don't know. That's just me. I'm not the boss.
maybe if you feel like doing this, if you get enough space from the double album River, why don't you make your ideal the River?
I thought about it.
Using both albums and just like throw together a playlist, and that might be interesting to check out and listen to. And like we could do like something on Substack with that, because that would be a cool thing to talk about and think of, to see what it could have been from the point of view of someone who reveres Bruce like you do in such a critical, positive way.
And I think you'd get a different iteration of it from any Bruce fan you ask.
Probably.
Because a song like Drive All Night meanders so much, but it clearly is there for a reason, or he wouldn't have taken the swing on it that he did. Yeah. So it's almost like it feels like it has to be there, but I wouldn't put it there.
Right.
I hate that song.
Without it, we never would have gotten November Rain. Can we talk about Nebraska, please?
Yes. Oh, my God, yes. Okay. Nebraska came out September 30th, 1982. In a bout of depression, Bruce rented a farmhouse and bought a 4-track home recording board for the bedroom.
I'm sold already.
He finally paid off his taxes to the IRS.
So he bought himself a 4-track.
He bought a 4-track and a pickup truck and is still in New Jersey. He demoed around 20 songs by himself with a friend as an engineer. It's all acoustic guitar, vocals, harmonica, and the occasional glockenspiel. Many of the songs would go on to be filled out with the E Street Band and become the bulk of Born in the USA, which is wild to think of those two albums as basically simultaneous.
Yes.
The rest of the songs that were meant to be on this album were just not working with the band. They tried it out with the whole band doing these full arrangements of all the songs, and it just wasn't working. So Bruce just takes the original tape out of his pocket that he kept on him and said, I think this is the album. This is the first bedroom pop album. Yeah. People did not do this before. They did not record in their literal bedrooms. And, you know, a 4-track, it wasn't prohibitively expensive, but you'd have to be a mid-tier successful artist like Bruce or a real hobbyist to be able to afford this. But it's not a full Neve board in your house, you know? It's inspired by Terrence Malick movies, Flannery O'Connor short stories, country music, his general depression, ruminating on the distance between the American dream and American life, etc.
Doesn't that hold up?
Yep. There's a reason why this is the album that's getting a movie based on the book Deliver Me From Nowhere by Warren Zanes. There's just a lot of mystery and haunting quality to it in its sparseness. And it is no secret at this point, if you've been listening, that this is Joe's far and above favorite Bruce Springsteen album.
So far.
Yeah. It starts with the title track Nebraska about the 1950s killing spree by Charles Starkweather from Starkweather's perspective.
Yep.
And it all just gets summed up with this one line. You ask me why I did this. I guess there's just a meanness in this world.
And that's the first song.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so Truman Capote too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is very in cold blood.
Mm-hmm.
That when I was listening to this, I was going through like whatever my headphones were, and I could hear like the highs like hitting me in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I wish this was mixed a little better, but then that would take away from it. So I'd rather just hit the volume.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like his voice eclipsed the gain.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get that doing this professionally.
Yeah.
But like
It's
haunting. Like,
this was another nightmare mix because something about the mastering of it just did not work to get it on the wax. So they had to have like a specialist figure out how to do it. Yeah, so much of it is just that natural quality from him recording in his bedroom with an acoustic guitar and like a shitty mic with a lot of reverb on it. And it just there's nothing else that sounds quite like it.
And this is why I think this is the first time I felt like truly engaging with every song, because I thought before this, the instrumentation and the arrangements would distract me from his storytelling. So if the storytelling in the song or the song itself were what I found to be especially above par or impressive, then I can engage more positively, like Rosalita.
Yeah.
Or New York City Serenade, or like Lost in the Flood, Adam Raised the Cane. Like those songs that stood out to me, even if I was like, I'm not really vibing with it musically, story's got its hooks in me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs that you like, and we talked about, that I just couldn't get into. But I like the stories of it when I look at the lyrics.
Yeah.
This, I can listen to it because the music's not taken away from it in ways that it previously had been for me.
The best example of that, and I'm skipping around a little bit, but the best example of my favorite song on this album is State Trooper.
More than Highway Patrolman?
So it's wild that those are back to back, but it almost works. It doesn't work if you think that the narrator of State Trooper is the brother that Highway Patrolman's singing about.
It doesn't work.
It almost makes you want to, but it's not.
It doesn't, yeah.
But I love State Trooper because every time I listen to it, and the whole thing is just palm muted on the acoustic guitar, and he's just kind of like whispering.
Yep.
And just singing about how he's like as on the edge as you can be.
He's about to break.
Yeah. Speeding down the highway, ready to snap at the next person who crosses him. He's saying, Mr. State Trooper, please don't stop me. Every time I listen to it, I imagine it in an electric setting, with like heavy guitars chugging it and it building up with a full band. And then I take another second to think why that would be terrible.
Yep.
Because it's that suggestion. It's that exact thing of making you think of it being bigger than it is.
That's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
And so by having that restraint there, that makes the song.
Yeah. It lets you imagine it and fill those blanks for yourself. And how it sounds on its own is already so echoey and haunting. And then when he ends it in the most perfect way possible because he does that like scream and and it trails off like a Doppler effect.
Yep.
Like he's speeding down the highway into the night. Like I know white guys with acoustic guitars get a bad rap, but that's how you do it, man.
This is no Wonderwall.
No.
I thought it was a gamble putting them into one another, but I thought it worked well because of explicitly that palm muting. They're both very mid-tempo. But just by like making it quieter, he tricks you into being like, no, this is a very different song, even though like they're similar. You can see how these would be in the same short story collection and be like, it takes place in the same area, the same town. Like maybe it's the same character, like you just said, but it wouldn't make sense.
There's a lot of cool little Easter eggs in the lyrics of this album that kind of hint at this being, it's almost like Springfield in The Simpsons, where like you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
The first song is called Nebraska, but then the next one is Atlantic City. That's in New Jersey.
Yep.
But it's all painting just a very bleak picture of some kind of middle America, nowhere town.
You just know it's Gothic America.
Yeah.
That's really it.
And you can hear it in, like he says New Jersey in State Trooper. He says Ohio somewhere else in Michigan or Nebraska. There's some like street names that are repeated. It just paints this like mysterious picture, but you're kind of filling out this town yourself.
Yeah.
And they're not all the same place, but they kind of are. And that's kind of what's so scary about it, is that this could be anywhere.
Right.
And some lines are repeated, like "I got debts no honest man could pay." That's in Atlantic City and Johnny 99, or "Deliver Me from Nowhere" is in State Trooper and Open All Night, and that's the title of the book. And it's surprisingly diverse sound wise. There's some rockabilly on Johnny 99, talking about a lot of like systemic failings that lead people to violence and crime and whatnot.
I actually thought the songs where he explored genre more on this album were the weaker moments for me.
Yeah.
Because they kicked me out and they were less new. Whereas everything else felt new. These, like Open All Night, sounds like an East Street song that he's not playing with the band to me, which is not a bad thing. It's just that we have that, or like I can imagine that pretty easily because I've just listened to a ton of East Street albums.
That's true.
You know,
I guess I'm wary of hearing too many Mansion on the Hills in a row.
but I can listen to that all day.
It's a great song.
Mansion on a Hill.
I love that song, but if I got another one right after, I'd be like, okay.
But what if he palm muted it like State Trooper?
Well, no, because the next one's Johnny 99, and it's got
that one,
like, the rockabilly thing.
I said nobody's perfect about Johnny 99 because I was just like, I don't need his blues party stuff when he's being acoustic sad boy.
But it's not really that party-ish. Okay, great example. Honestly, the closest thing to a pop song on this album is Atlantic City. It is one of the most widely covered Bruce songs.
But that's just because it's hooky.
Yeah, and he didn't sacrifice anything to get the hooks. It's still sparse, and it's still about like what Meeting Across the River was. It's like just this interesting balance for the album because it fits with the rest, being slower, but it breaks it up so it's not just one sad guy with a guitar the whole time. Like it speaks to the power of the song that he can make.
Is there anything that you would have changed about the album? Because I do have one note that would have brought it to a 10 for me, even including his what I consider party East Street songs.
Oh, I know what you're going to say because I read your note about it. Look, you're coming to my boy Bruce. I got to be ready. No, I gave this a 9.5 out of 10 personally, but I also gave that to Darkness. Yeah, I know what you're going to say about the change you would make. I think I can defend the choice. So you go ahead.
Okay, I just would have switched the last two songs.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done because My Father's House is very, very Nebraska core, right? Like that is like, you hear that right away and that can't be on any other album but Nebraska.
Yes.
And the way it's recorded and what it's about. Then we get to Reason to Believe, the actual closing song.
Yes.
But I thought it was just, like, I just thought it was weaker than My Father's House. I think My Father's House is thematically stronger. And in the way that Darkness on the Edge of Town, the song, is a summing song for that album, both character-wise, story-wise, thematically-wise. I don't think Reason to Believe is as thematically strong of a closing song as My Father's House is. And so swapping those two, going from Open All Nights, like, kind of, that's his electric song.
It's the only electric song.
Right, it's only his electric song on there. So going from that electric into Reason to Believe, into My Father's House, and then, like, you're closing the book. And then Nebraska's done. That would have brought it to, like, a perfect 10. And that's including the warts that I consider of Johnny 99 and Open All Night being, like, those inessential party songs.
Yeah. I would say I think My Father's House and Reason to Believe, I think that's the right order, like the way it is, because each of these songs leading up to it, it's a very similar approach to Darkness in that each of the songs before the end are single stories, you know? And My Father's House is one of them. It's one of the most emblematic of the album. But what is he really saying here in Reason to Believe? You know, when he says at the end of every hard-earned day, people find some reason to believe. And he says, I find it kind of funny. And it's like, yeah, that is kind of funny, especially when they live the lives you've just described for the last 40 minutes. I mean, how else could you end it? That amidst all of this, like, suffering and boredom and listlessness that people are facing every day, they still find a reason to go on. That's the kind of thing you can only say at the end, I think.
I think what's bothering me about it is that it's too basic. I would have, because I understand what you're saying. It does work in that thematic way. If he's breaking most of his rules by making Nebraska the album, I wish he would have broken that one more. by saying, here's reason to believe. Here's just people need a reason to believe, like, which I think is like a basic kind of message, but whatever. He delivers that, and then he goes, oh, by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
And it's my father's house. Like, that's like an epilogue that would like leave me like, oh God. But I do understand where you're coming from. It makes sense to me why he sequences the way he sequences it. And it doesn't detract from the album by any means whatsoever. I'm truly being nitpicky at this point because I love this album.
Yeah.
This is just me being like, in a perfect world, like, okay, Bruce, I know people do need a reason to believe, but like, tell me more about your daddy issues.
The thing is, I think you're reading it a little too positively. I think the song is extremely cynical.
Really?
Yeah. That's kind of the point. It sounds a little more upbeat and it sounds simple, but like his narrator in the song is just kind of a passive observer of people living terrible lives
Yeah.
that feel pointless, and yet they still go on. And he's not inspired by that. He's just like, huh.
I don't think he's inspired by it. So this section is what tells me or makes me think that his narrator starts cynical and then turns. Because he says, Lord, won't you tell us what does it mean? At the end of every hard-earned day, people find some reason to believe. I think that's the point in the song where it turns from being cynical. Because up until that point, every vignette we get, he's being cynical looking at them. But then they're talking about the graveyard. An old man passes away, take the body to the grave, and over him they pray. And then it's like, please tell us, God. We need a reason. Like, it gets desperate to me in a way that doesn't read as cynical. And that's where it becomes sad and genuine for the rest of the song. I don't know.
He doesn't find the answer.
No, he doesn't find the answer.
Yeah.
That's fine, but that's what he does. He doesn't resolve things. Like he respects that and leaves it on the realistic answer. I don't know, man. I'm being nitpicky because this is my favorite one. That's like, you can't convince me on this.
Okay.
No, but not in a way that I'm not open to it, but in a way of that this one is so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
That it's like, in the way that you have sentimental value towards a lot of his songs and a lot of his albums and growing up with it. Yeah. Nebraska hit so good for me when I read Born to Run that now I'm listening to it again and being critical. I'm like, yo, you could have done this better. And this is how. And you don't even have to cut Johnny 99, which is like just a dumb blues song. I don't even care. I know it's not a dumb.
I love Johnny 99.
I'm not saying it's dumb.
I never used to. It wasn't until this listen through that I was like, oh, this song's actually great.
I just think it's boring when you're doing blues stuff. Blues stuff is so easy. Everybody picks up a guitar and goes E-A. So it's like, I don't need it, but I don't care.
I had this like one note that because the I got debts no honest man can pay line is repeated from Atlantic City in Johnny 99. It makes you draw a parallel between the two characters, the Atlantic City guy and Ralph from Johnny 99, that they are not meant to be the same character because they are two men that go on to do two different illegal things while being unemployed and desperate. Yeah. Atlantic City guy runs off to Atlantic City to throw himself into the criminal underworld to make a better life for himself and his girl, while Johnny gets drunk and shoots a night clerk. Either way, the same factors led them both to similarly awful situations. And when Johnny says he was losing his house, etc., and saying, now I ain't saying that makes me an innocent man, but it was more in all this that put that gun in my hand. He's speaking on systemic failings that lead people to crime and violence. And that's something that crosses all kinds of demographic barriers, but probably not class. Yeah. I mean, could you imagine the people living in the mansion on the hill doing any of this? I mean, again, musically, if it's just blues and boring to you, that's fine. But like,
I'm not talking content-wise.
It's these kind of mismatches of lyric and style that make Bruce so interesting to me. Yeah. You know? But that was just kind of a weird tangent to go on. That's the thing. We could talk about this album forever. Right. Like,
because it's that good.
It's so good.
Even when we disagree, it's still that good.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like.
Yeah, that's crazy to have something so good that people have a baseline appreciation for it and then can argue their favorites or what like works best.
What makes it better for me as a single person versus just what he did. Yeah. Whatever. Like, it's still freaking great. Like,
yeah. He gets that openness by it just being him and a guitar. Yep. Like, and then on the complete opposite end of the equation, America. Born in the USA, June 4th, 1984.
Born a month early.
Oh, wow.
I'm really surprised that he didn't put it out on July 4th. If it came out on June,
maybe that'd be too on the nose.
I listened to the album.
Would you ever believe that this album was born from Nebraska and was made basically at the same time? John Landau was salivating to release this when he knew Bruce was sitting on this material while promoting Nebraska. It's still the biggest smash hit album of Bruce's career, with multiple hit singles that made him a household name and famously misunderstood. Inspired by the works of and his friendships with Ron Kovic, disabled Vietnam vet, author of Born on the 4th of July, and other anti-war veterans who started veterans unions that Bruce and the band helped give money and attention to, even playing benefit concerts for them. Many of the songs on this album continue the same themes as Nebraska, mostly desperate people witnessing the death of the illusion that is the American dream. Where it falters in its messaging is leaning too far into hyper-slick pop production as to make it less pointed of a critique and more of a superstar turn for Bruce, which he turned out not to care for too much. In between making Nebraska and this album, Bruce has an epiphany that he will never be a common man again, and it furthers his desire to capture their experiences. He has enjoyed his successes and been grateful for the life he's made, but being so singularly minded about it at such a young age has made him look back at the simpler life he could have had with some romance, and feeling a sense of eternal otherness by only ever being able to observe it and not live among the people that he tells stories about. Oh well, grass is always greener, right? Important note, Steven Van Zandt is replaced by Nils Lofgren on guitar, though Steve would make an appearance on Glory Days and in the music video.
Very boxcar racer of them.
Mm-hmm. And Patti Scalfa joined on background vocals for the tour, but was not on the album. So, what do you think of Born in the USA?
I'm going to start off with the title track before I get into like true feelings on the album.
Okay.
It astounds me. I guess it shouldn't, based on current events since 2016, 2015, since Trump was running. It astounds me that anyone without just like a basic modicum of media literacy would think Born on the 4th of July is a
Born in the USA.
Born in the USA, whatever. It's the same stupid thing. This is why it pisses me off. Like, this is like a flub on his part. I'm not even gonna cut this because it still bothers me. Like, Born in the USA. It's just, how do you not know that he's critiquing America? Just listen to him. Like, the production's better. It's 1984, so it's improved since his album from 11 years ago. You could hear what he's saying on it. But average Americans hear this, and it's upbeat because it's catchy, because he writes catchy, good music. And then they go, yeah, America, wave my flag. Commies suck. Like, it's just, it's disappointing.
The most important person to get that wrong was Ronald Reagan.
Thank you for trickling down.
Yeah. He used it as a campaign song in 1984, to which Bruce famously replied, "Didn't he read the lyrics?"
I like the idea that anyone can be president in the United States. I say that as
Where you going with this, Joe?
as I'm holding my Chris Pilsner in hand. I like the idea because I think it shows that anyone can achieve that because people can believe in anyone. I think it's good. It's like anyone can wear a cape. Coming from like my comic book superhero background. I think that's awesome. I don't know if celebrities should.
Yeah.
And he started as a celebrity. I think people like Arnold Schwarzenegger can buck that trend. But I think that guy has become the exception to the rule versus what we have seen. Even when, man, I don't want to get into it. It's just, it really pisses me off. It pisses me off to listen to this song, even though, yeah, it's catchy. Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah, I appreciate its actual genuine message. Yeah, it holds up. I have really nothing to come at it. I like that he's got a gravelly voice singing about being an American soldier in an overly produced song in the 1980s. Like, whatever. It all works for me. But the context of it brings that shit down.
Yeah.
And it's where one of those things, like, we talk about separating the art from the artist. When I teach, we talk about critiquing the art outside of the author. and seeing how once you write something and once you create something, a piece of art, and you put it out into the world, the audience puts its own feelings and thoughts upon it. That's what ruins this song. And when I listen to this song, all I think about is the ire you hear in my voice.
Yeah.
And I don't even care about the rest of the album. Like, there's songs that I put on there, and like, it pisses me off to listen to this album. We get to what is it? Darlington County. It's part 2 of Born in the USA. It's the same song.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off because that vocal melody is so close. And then he puts cowbell on it. Cowbell's fine. I'm a Christopher Walken fan. More cowbell. I'm down. Whatever. But the stupid cowbell.
I don't know if I've ever seen you this heated.
Because it pisses me off. Like, this really bothers me. And this is not Bruce's fault. Like, I hate that it's not his fault, and I hate that he carries it. I appreciate that you gave the context where he understands he's not a normal person anymore.
Yeah.
So that feels like he has all the more responsibility to use his privilege to sing about them. Honestly, that might be the biggest selling point on Bruce that you could have given me, because that's my biggest critique of him, is that he continues to sing about them. The stupid Common Man mutates his song into crap.
Yep.
And do you need sha-la-las on Darlington County? Your turn. I'm pulling back.
I mean, look, the grandiosity of this song as a major pop hit works great as a satire on the exact kind of simple-minded star-spangled bullshit that radio audiences eat up. But it worked so well that millions of people missed the point. And the point is, it's about a young man who grew up poor with no options, got drafted to fight in Vietnam, faced unspeakable horrors in the name of a pointless war that was fought for nothing but American imperialism, and comes home to no job prospects, no support, and PTSD. The thing is, this was written during the Nebraska writing. And I am dying to hear what that sounded like. I think it's out there. I think there is a Nebraska version of Born in the USA. And
that'd be really cool. I'd be interested in that.
Because there's no way you could miss the point there.
Yeah.
Because my biggest problem with this album is the fucking synths.
Interesting.
It's all I think of with this album.
Chat, we found Steve's rim shots. It's the synths.
Like, I don't know. A lot of Bruce albums have one instrument or group of instruments that are kind of a signature. On The Rising, it's strings. On Western Stars, it's like an orchestra kind of thing, with like one certain string motif that he repeats a lot in that album. But for me, all I can hear when I think of this album, even though weirdly this is probably his most guitar heavy album yet.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because like Born in the USA has the same synth melody the whole time, and it's just grating on the brain, and he starts out shouting the whole time, so there's nowhere for it to go.
Nope.
It's like the complaint about the third Oasis album. They were already big and loud, and they decided to go bigger and louder, and it's just too big and loud.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that song. It's never been a favorite of mine, even among his hits. Like, there's some songs I look favorably on for being hits. As much as I love what it's about and the swing he took on it, I just don't really like the song.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first half of this record doesn't do much for me.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah, like, I kind of like that Darlington County is, even though it sounds like one of the rock songs from The River, it's kind of funny because it's about two guys from New York City trying to act like hotshots in a small town, but they're clearly bullshitting, and his buddy gets arrested.
Yeah.
Like, I like that the tongue is in cheek there, you know?
Which tells me it could have been written at the same time as Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only crossover I see.
It's weird how those two albums are connected and sound so different. It's really not until I'm on Fire that we really get somewhere really good. I mean, it's a classic. It's one of his most covered songs. It's beautiful and simple, and in a different way than Nebraska, but on a similar principle, leaves a lot open to suggestion by having an open, airy sound to it. But it does not get away from that cheesy 80s synth.
Yeah.
That always takes me out a little bit. But I like that picking pattern. I like his distant vocals when he does the falsetto at the end. I like that it's short. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Like it's just a good song.
I think what bothers me about I'm on Fire is what bothers you about Born in the USA is that it starts at one volume and stays there the entire time.
But I can accept that if that's low. If it starts big and is trying to top itself and can't, I feel like we're starting a marathon at a full sprint.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, where I'm on Fire has a little more to like pace yourself with, especially where it is on the track list.
Because it has rim shots, right? I think if this song were acoustic, and I don't mean Nebraska acoustic.
Yeah.
I mean like him well-produced acoustic. I think I'd like it a little bit more. I think if it were him slowed down a smidge, like I think the tempo like ever so slightly, make it into more of like a drawl. But like the way he's going about it feels like he's rushing a little bit for what I think more of a slow-paced idea. Like burn a little, Bruce. Like you're saying I'm on fire, but you're rushing through it. I want that lust to burn.
I think it's that intensity of it being faster than you think it would be. It's just like if you try to play it on guitar, you're like kind of chicken picking it a little bit.
No, and I think that's interesting. I think the picking is really, really cool. I just wish I think there's better covers of that song out there than that original song. And like I noted too, and I noted on there, I think the Soccer Mommy version works better. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Cover.
And it's just like she slows it down. It's ethereal, like the pulled back vocals, like just being slower, like it takes me there.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like him being on fire in the way that he doesn't get me in the song. So like in theory, yeah, I'm with it. If he did this song today, beat for beat, everything the exact same way, perhaps I'd like it more. It might be truly just a production thing with the 80s, like that gated reverb and all that.
Yeah.
I think maybe if he redid it now exactly the same way, I might like it more. The way the product we get there, it's not for me, dog.
Wait, did you know Randy Jackson played on one of his albums?
Nope, I didn't. Yep. That's great.
Yeah, I think it was two. I think it was Human Touch and Lucky Town because he worked with studio musicians on those records.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But we haven't gotten there yet, so yeah. Anyway, No Surrender is fun. It's a fun live one. I think he opened the last time I saw him with that one.
I call that Nostalgia the Song.
Oh, there's an even better example of that we will get to.
And I thought I heard that song and I was like, yo, Gaslight Anthem heard this song. And they were like,
made a whole career
out of it. But I like them really well. So I'm not hating on it, but
yeah. I like Bobby Jean a lot. I think that's kind of an underrated song. I just like I like the wistfulness of the music set to this sad young love story about the death of potential.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I do kind of agree about liking Bruce more when he's sad, but I also am only confident in my songs when they're sad or angry or something. It's hard to write happy.
100%. Yeah. That's the big thing that everyone talks about. It's very easy to write a tragedy, but it's really hard to make people laugh.
Yeah.
You really have to put a lot of effort into honing that skill and make them smile and dance. So for him to do stuff where people have a party for 3 hours, that's a genuine talent. Mm-hmm. But I didn't go to the concert, so
I'm going down. I just remember loving listening to this song as a kid when I was skiing.
It's the title.
I was literally going down.
That's a dad rock joke for a dad rock song.
I was skiing with my dad.
The next song is my favorite Bruce song ever.
Yeah, the next one is Glory Days. Yay.
Yeah, I'm being facetious. I hate that crap. Right. I hate it so much.
In classic Bruce fashion, one of his biggest pop hits isn't just about remembering better times, even though it sounds like it. It's about a bunch of sad drunks who peaked in high school. And I love the dissonance. And I like, Little Steven's trading off of nonsense and all rights at the end. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad he has this moment in the song. And in the music video, it's hilarious to see a young Stevens in it. And I get it. The organ sounds like a baseball game, like the baseball stadium organ, Americana, whatever. I just don't like how high it is in the mix on every goddamn song on this album. And it's just always the first thing I think of with this album.
This was the one that I was writing on that you took a video of as I was writing on the doc. And the note, I'm not going to read it because I'll read most of it, but I'm not going to yell it because it's written in all caps. But I was so pissed off that there was an organ solo in the song that has an organ hook, yet Clarence Clemens is your saxophonist. Mm-hmm. And you're not really using him on this album.
Yep.
And you haven't really used him in a minute. So, like, he could have came in there and, like, done something.
You want to know the best part? In
What?
the music video for this song, they're all playing in a bar, and Clarence is just playing the tambourine.
Can we get to Dancing in the Dark? I know I mess around, and I know I'm like I have hot takes to have hot takes sometimes, but like I genuinely do have opinions. My hot take to have a hot take on this one was like I question Bruce's band leading on this song because like you put in the video you put him. Let's talk about Dancing in the Dark.
Okay,
I'm so mad. I'm like this close to being re-mad at Born in the USA.
Yeah. Okay. This is his most covered song, and for good reason, because it is a banger of all bangers. The Lucy Dacus cover is my favorite, and it might actually be even better than the original.
That's what I said, I have no notes about this song. I love the Bruce song.
You remember what I said about Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night being written because Clive Davis said he had no hits?
Yes.
The same thing happened here.
Yep.
His manager, John Landau, said he didn't have a hit for the album. He wrote it in an hour. Fuck you, Bruce. Like that's. Are you kidding me? Like Courtney Cox music video, blah blah blah. It looks ridiculous. Like he.
I didn't even see that. I gotta watch it.
It's the first music video they ever made, and it's so funny because Bruce can do a good James Brown when he wants to, not on this. And him trying to dance on this is hysterical.
Okay.
And he talks about it and said like his kids watched the video when they got older and they were like, Dad, you look ridiculous.
Nice.
And again, it's the bad fashion and the tight shirt, and he's all muscly now. He's only like 34, I think. Yeah, no, Dancing in the Dark's amazing. Like we can only say so much, but I kind of want to see what you think about this based on what we just said about the last two songs of Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I thought when listening to My Hometown that Dancing in the Dark should have been the closer. That the song is fine, but I'll only ever remember it as the failed A-side to a single whose B-side was the far more successful Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you knew that's how that song got popular.
No, I
It was the
didn't.
B-side to the My Hometown single. And it became a staple, like a Christmas staple that everyone knows. That the live Santa Claus by Bruce, like it's one of my favorite Christmas songs. It's fun. It's like one of the few I don't get sick of.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm
Thank
with you
you.
on that. I really like that one, that rendition of it. Yeah.
My parents had seen it, I think, in 2001, and like the whole crowd threw Santa hats on stage,
Nice.
and they said it was like the best show. Weirdly, though, My Hometown is actually one of the better songs on the album.
I agree.
I just think it's kind of a weak closer for this album.
I think it's a weak closer because Dancing in the Dark is so good.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dancing in the Dark should have been the closer
No.
because we have I'm on Fire as the ballad.
Mm-hmm.
We have Glory Days, which should just never be heard again. We have, after that, Dancing in the Dark, which I appreciate it bringing the pace down.
Mm-hmm.
But Dude's a Party Guy. You got to end on a party note.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought this is more of like him taking a Nebraska type song
Mm-hmm.
and making it full band. Like I can imagine him writing Nebraska tracks and him going like, I'm saving this for the boys.
So I thought a similar thing. I thought this was a simplified version of a Nebraska song, and in my opinion shows how right Bruce was to keep Nebraska the way it was without the band.
Agreed.
Because if that Nebraska album sounded like this, it would rob it of all of its power and stark emotion. But I guess the song works in this context.
I think it's just a weak closer because Dancing in the Dark is so strong.
Yeah.
And I truly think it's just the context of it because I don't hate the song whatsoever.
So you don't think Dancing in the Dark should be the closer?
I don't think it should be the closer. I think there should be another song after it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think My Hometown is the choice.
Okay.
I think if he had another song that was a little more intentional than this sounding like a Nebraska B-side that he brought to an E Street rehearsal. Because that's what it really just comes across as to me. Truly, if he bookended it with something to go with Born in the USA. I think that would have hit a home run for me, even if it were slower than Dancing in the Dark, even if it were more subdued, even if it were more ballady. But he starts off on this like really, really strong anti-war sentiment. And then he kind of like meanders for the whole album, going among different topics. My Hometown doesn't feel like a sum up as much as he's done in previous albums, even though it is like when you look at the lyrics, it just doesn't feel it because it's romantic heavy and it's got that anti-war element. It's just, I think he could have done better.
I think you just made it make more sense to me, actually.
Yeah.
By exposing something. So this song is about the cycle of people staying where they are because they tragically, for one reason or another, never dare to leave. I think this is showing his survivor's guilt about being the one who got out, you know?
Okay.
And if you look at that character in Born in the USA, that was a poor young guy who had no options, so he went to the army. So this is him grappling with the fact that that could have been him. And I think it's an interesting choice to end the album on this song because it feels like the label would have chosen Dancing in the Dark.
It does feel like a label choice.
So clearly Bruce wanted to say something with this one, and I think it's this. Don't fall for the pop shit I just put you through for the last 11 songs. That's me, but that's not all of me. So I think he had a point to it. I just don't know. I don't know if it works, but now I'm actually starting to warm up to the idea when I think of those bookends of like, you know, the shit he could have gone through as a Vietnam vet because he had to like, he got out of the draft for like a motorcycle accident. He got it when he was like 15 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So to now grapple with like, you know, his otherness from the people he's always written about and like having to deal with them being still stuck there and he's moved on.
Yeah.
I can imagine the survivor's guilt feeling there for sure.
Especially him because he's very sentimental.
Yeah.
In that way and very empathetic.
So, okay, maybe I'll come around on that song at the end a little more, but this is still absolutely not my favorite Bruce album.
It's not mine either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not mine either.
Yeah. Of the ones we've heard, this is like toward the bottom for me. But we've only got one more for the 80s.
We do.
Yep.
And I'm saying that in excitement, not in the way you might think, listeners.
Yeah. Because I don't think this is a particularly fan-loved album unless you really dig into it.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah.
That's an insane take.
So, Tunnel of Love, October 5th, 1987. Coming off the massive success of Born in the USA, Bruce finds himself fully retreating from pop megastardom and big band arrangements. Instead, he demos multiple songs with his engineer Toby at his home in New Jersey and turns it into a record where he plays almost every instrument himself. The songs this time were about domestic married life, coming to a grinding halt from all the things he's had about life on the road. Given that his first marriage to actress Julianne Phillips was not going well, entirely Bruce's fault, he had a lot to work with as he faced this new, terrifyingly still phase of his life. The seeds of discontent are all laid here, as on the limited tour for this album, Bruce began his affair with Patti Scialfa, to which he quickly admitted to Julianne, led to their separation and divorce. Bruce would go on to marry Patti, to whom he's still married to this day. There's a lot of meta stuff going on in here because the album is all written while he's still grappling with being married. Mm-hmm. And then the tour for it is where his marriage falls apart, but he starts to feel loved and seen and do the real work with Patti.
Right.
Which then makes you go back and listen to the album and see how he got there.
Yep.
I have one very specific critique about this album.
Me too.
What is yours?
I think Ain't Got You is the worst choice to start the album off with.
Okay. I think Ain't Got You only seems bad because it's not followed up immediately by Spare Parts.
Okay.
So hear me out. Ain't Got You, it's this rich man's blues thing. I think it's actually kind of a cool way to start the album because this is the first time that he's played into the character of being a rich guy, which is still new to him.
Yeah.
I think Spare Parts should have been the second song because the build up, the acoustic guitar, the energy, it would have been killer building off of Ain't Got You. And instead, I feel like we got two almost filler songs in between them. Like it broke the pacing of what was supposed to be the 1-2 punch to start the album. Spare Parts feels more Bruce, wordy storytelling and all. Mm-hmm. I like the song way more than I remembered, but I think that's just because I was coming off of two sleepy 80s ballads that are good on their own, but frustrate me where they are in the track list, because there's a huge disconnect between Ain't Got You and Tougher Than the Rest. But if you had Ain't Got You, Spare Parts, and then literally anything else, it would work.
You saying that now makes me like Spare Parts more, because I actually wrote for Spare Parts. It felt like filler. It felt like old school BS, and I was even like, I thought he was getting a divorce, but we got like more of the same old Bruce Springsteen. I don't think I'd still like Ain't Got You because it's an Elvis song in 1987. Like, you got to let go. Like I know he like goes through those characters of Roy Orbison, of Elvis, of Bob Dylan. Like he runs through them. That's fine. But he's made a career for himself by now. He doesn't need to do that. I don't think I'd like Ain't Got You anymore. But if Spare Parts came after it, I think that would make the sequencing for the rest of the album elevated, which I already loved. Yeah, because it 100% interrupts it. There's a pacing that is so strong there between Tougher Than the Rest and All That Heaven Will Allow.
Yeah.
And then Cautious Man, Walk Like a Man, the whole album.
This album is shockingly good.
Yeah. But it that one choice would have made it better. I agree. I would not have felt the need to hate on Ain't Got You and to want to cut Spare Parts if it were the second song. As much as I feel listening to it when it is in the sequencing now.
Because I think Tougher Than the Rest being right after Ain't Got You is a disservice to both of them. Because it just exposes Ain't Got You as thin as an intro. But it's not building up to a natural full song. Like, you know how on our first EP we do Looks Like Team Rocket's Baja Blasting Off Again into Suicide is Tax Evasion?
Yeah.
Because Team Rocket isn't a full song. It's like barely 2 minutes. But it's meant to be an intro.
Right.
And then there's the payoff of how it leads into Tax Evasion. That's what Ain't Got You and Spare Parts fit.
They fit together
better, as. Whereas, like, this is like if we did Team Rocket into Raspberry.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just a total mismatch. But then really all the songs are good, like in any order. You know, like this I think even more so than like which songs would I make into a one good disc of The River, I would just make that switch.
Yeah. In our rankings of the albums as we go through, this is when we get to our top 10, so it's no surprise I have Nebraska at the top. Like that, I wrote that there before I listened to anything else because I knew I was going to love it more. And I put Tunnel of Love second, and I put comments on them to say I got to re-listen to it again once we finish the whole discography. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to touch it. Maybe stuff will like come in the top 10 or like top 5, whatever. But having that idea in mind, I might be able to forgive, quote unquote, Johnny 99. You know, as like, and what was it, Open All Night, or what was as like the standouts of Nebraska, and putting Reason to Believe instead of switching it with My Father's House. So I think making one switch to Tunnel of Love versus like a few things that I would adjust on Nebraska, Tunnel of Love might come out as my favorite album.
Wow!
By the end of Bruce, because every song hits. Cautious Man is a sequel to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Right. I even liked it when the keys came in.
Yep.
Walk Like a Man, I wrote, I'll even take the rim shots. The lyrics on that are beautiful. I'll do what I can. I'll walk like a man, and I'll keep on walking. Dude is talking about toxic masculinity in 1987, before that was even a term, and he's talking about it. And he's the one to talk about it because, truly, at this point in his career, he's the face of masculinity.
Yeah.
And for him to say, like, what can I do? Even I have to shoulder that burden. Yeah. Everything on this.
This man had rolled up sleeves and a Telecaster jumping in front of an American flag photographed by Annie Leibovitz.
Yeah.
And he's out here saying the changing ideals of what a man is as you get older and how to not just seem like one, but be one for yourself and for your family. Like,
yeah,
he's you can see him growing up as he goes. I think he's like 37, 38, something like that.
That's actually what I said on Cautious Man. I said it sounds like he's aging.
Yeah.
On it, which makes me sad, but it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
And I was just like, like I'm not going to like listening to him grow older because right now he's reckoning with it already. What's going to happen when dude is like more traditionally older? Because I wouldn't consider him all that much older on this album.
No, he's not even 40.
Right. Man, he's so good. Tunnel of Love could be a Madonna song. And I love it.
You know how we said like every album has a signature thing, and it's like the synths on Born in the USA. To me, the one standout sound on this album that brings it down for me is those stupid gated drums.
I loved it.
I hate it. I hate that sound. It just because it dates it, not in a way that's like the best representation of the time. Because I don't think of Bruce in specific eras. I think of what he did in those eras. So anything that reminds me too much of when this album was made drives me crazy.
Okay.
So
That's fair.
I don't know. There's something in my mind that won't accept Bruce Springsteen and gated drums.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, Tunnel of Love is so good. It is such a good. I love that the whole song has this one big metaphorical setting with a message of being both in the dark and also seeing themselves in mirrored angles they've never seen before.
Yeah.
That like being in the tunnel, it's dark, so you don't think you can see anything, and then there's mirrors everywhere. So it's like you see sides of yourself you never could before in each other.
I'm gonna go a little further, and I'm definitely like reading into it. But he's Bruce Springsteen, so he'll enjoy it. This makes me think of way back when with E Street Shuffle, with Asbury Park Sandy, with the Wild Billy Circus, whatever, the tuba one.
Yeah.
Where it's like Tunnel of Love, that idea, like sitting on like the swan and going through it, but also you saying like the different mirrored angles, like being in a house of mirrors. It's just like there's multiple layers that you could read into there. Even if they're not there, it still works.
Yeah.
And such an illustrious career.
And he's got a guitar solo.
He does. It's great. I love the solo.
It's a really good solo.
Oh, I do have a bone to pick with you.
Okay, what's up?
So you came at Blink 182 for lacking depth for much of their career. How do you feel about Two Faces?
Bipolar disorder has never sounded so catchy.
There you go. So Two Faces is Blink 182 levels of depth.
But I love it. It drives me crazy that it's back to back with Brilliant Disguise because it's about a very similar thing.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
But I do love the melodies on this. I said that flanger guitar solo made me laugh out loud. And then the keys solo, I'm howling.
Great. It's great. I said we're at the ball game with the solo. Who let him do this? And I said, thank you. I'm into it. It feels like he was on this record. I know he was doing everything himself, right? So he was on this record and he was just like, yeah, that feels good. Yeah. And going for it. And I love that. Like, it just very much so feels him, similarly to how Nebraska felt him. Just this time, he's just doing more.
Yeah.
And I'm with it. He's feeling himself.
Yeah. So the big-ish hit from this album was Brilliant Disguise. It's probably the perfect blend of straightforward pop and soul-searching that the rest of the songs on this album do either one of or try to blend, but not as well. I think this is the one that gets that balance right and is the right single for it.
I asked if it was the single.
Yeah.
It felt like the hit of the album. It felt like it would be in a rom-com, like with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan at that time.
It's so funny you say that because have you heard of the movie Philadelphia?
Yeah.
He did the song.
He does the song for Philadelphia, right?
Streets of Philadelphia, yeah, which has Tom Hanks, which that plays into something later in the next episode. Yeah, the arrangement is great. The production is great. It's a simple but questioning type of song, which I love, asking questions in songs. Half my lyrics are questions. You know, he's asking the woman he loves, not just asking her who she is behind the masks she wears for the world, but also himself. Like, do we put masks on even for ourselves? Not the deepest thing, but, you know, it's for a pop song, it's pretty good.
I'm fine with it.
But then my all-time favorite Bruce Springsteen song.
Even after Tunnel of Love? Like, even through the rest of his career?
Yes.
Okay. So
to this day, my favorite Bruce Springsteen song.
So we don't have to keep listening. We could stop. I'm kidding.
If you were going to say, like, pick a certain time frame to listen to Bruce, I would say, yeah, like the first 8 albums, you know, the 4 in the 70s, 4 in the 80s. Yeah, you could stop at Tunnel of Love, but you would be missing quite a bit of good stuff and stuff that would continue to surprise you. But one step up is the perfect balance of song structure, mood, soundscape, storytelling, emotion. It's absolutely the most indicative of Bruce's actual feelings about his marriage. And ever since I was 19 years old, this has been a terrifying look into the future of a midlife crisis and a failing marriage. So I have always had this song like kind of as like a warning, but also as I get older, I get to understand it more and more. Oh, also, it's not lost on me that Petty Scalfa joins the song at the exact time that the narrator meets the woman at the bar, and she's the one he ends up cheating on his wife with. For those of you at home, Joe pulled on his collar. That's some meta shit that just takes it to a whole new level. But something I never noticed until this listen through is that there's actually a double entendre for the one step up, two steps back thing.
What?
So at first, it's obvious that he's like sliding backwards with his wife. That's how he's looking at his whole life, is that, things are falling apart in his house and his marriage. But then when he meets the woman in the bar, it gets a little unclear who he's singing to, because he says, there's a woman across the bar. I'm getting the message she sent in. She ain't looking too married. Me either. I'm pretending. Then he says, last night I dreamed I held you in my arms. The music was never ending. We danced till the evening sky faded to black. One step up and two steps back.
Right.
So I can't tell who he's singing to, the woman in his dream, or if he's having a dream of his wife after cheating on her, or having his head turned by somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that dreaming that when he's dancing with her, as they dance, they're slowly making their way out of the bar to go home together.
That's how I read it.
Yeah. I never caught that before.
Yeah.
And I think it works interestingly either way, because if it's him dreaming about his wife, he's like trying to recapture what he thinks he should have with her, or this kind of tragic cheating love story with someone else, that either way he's feeling unfulfilled and he's only getting it in his dreams. The song's perfect. This is my favorite Springsteen song.
I understand why.
Yeah.
My notes only support what you said. There were rim shots on it, but I said I'll allow them. I'll take them on it.
And what else could they be?
I thought that this song had stronger electric guitar mixing versus I'm on Fire. I thought it just worked better for the context. Mm-hmm. So I want to rephrase something that I said earlier.
Okay.
That might be misconstrued as messed up, in that my favorite Bruce is sad Bruce.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite Bruce is vulnerable Bruce.
Okay.
And that could be sad. That could be happy, because you could be singing about something that, like, you could be singing about your kid, and that's vulnerable, but that's a happy thing, Yeah. Unless, like, you're happy that they're going off to college and that makes you wistful or something, whatever the case may be.
It's vulnerable to be hopeful. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's my favorite Bruce, and I think that's why the party songs don't hit for me. Whereas Rosalita, fun song, it's a love song. He's being vulnerable. Hits. He doesn't need to be confessional, because he can still write damn good storytelling songs, but they're vulnerable because they get to that bleeding heart. Like in Nebraska with There's a Meanness About Me. And it's like, damn, like, you're a murderer and you recognize it.
Yeah.
That's jarring to me. I said that's my Bruce Springsteen when I heard this song, like, because earlier I said I had that platonic ideal of the proper arrangement and having fun and, like, the improvisation. I think it's when he's at his storytelling vulnerable best. That's where he hits.
Yeah.
And if he could do that through a character, great. If he does that through a narrator, great. If he does that through a confession, like this is clearly supposed to be, that's probably the best. But you don't need to do it. I just want you to be vulnerable, because anything else, like, it rings more hollow.
Yeah.
Like, the further you get away from you being vulnerable, the less I'm inclined to invest in you.
Yeah.
And it's a great song. I see why it's your favorite. I don't know if I would call it my favorite, but that's because I haven't sat with it long enough. But it could be. Like, I mean, I don't know if it'll be Glory Days, but
yeah, I would like to see what you come away with saying is your favorite. Like, is it something from Nebraska, or do you feel like it should be, if that's your favorite album, or does the same affect this song or this album?
What I'm finding interesting is I'm keeping track of the numbers, and I think there was one song I had to add to it from a previous album. I think it was Lost in the Flood. I think I have to add that one to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I'm looking at how many songs I take from each album into my playlist and trying to see where they fall on my ranking of the albums themselves. And I think it's pretty interesting because, like, I put The River Disc 1.
Mm-hmm.
Disc 2 is not even on the top 21 albums. And like it's like we're not talking about Disc 2. And I put The River, the album itself, pretty high, despite like I'm kind of nonplussed by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Tunnel of Love shot right to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I put 4 songs on there,
Mm-hmm.
yet Nebraska's still above it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have less of a bone to pick with Tunnel of Love than I do with Nebraska. But there's something that just, it's interesting, like how I have to parse that out, because
Yeah.
I think at some point it stops being logical and moves into just feelings and vibes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I got to go back and listen to this full versus listening to Nebraska full, because every song is great on here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about the last 2 songs.
I know, because
Like-
it's kind of hard
like-
to talk about because the last 3 songs on the album are all ballads, and that's a lot in a row.
It is.
But they're all really good.
They are.
And especially Valentine's Day. That's a great closer.
I was going to say, what scares me is Losing You.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a beautiful epilogue to the album, because you don't know if he's talking to his ex-wife or you don't know if he's talking to Patty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's talking to both.
Yeah.
And that's why that hits so hard. Man, when he says, "Baby, it was you."
Mm-hmm.
He's so good. Like, yeah.
So,
Any thoughts on 80s Bruce?
I'd say more of a mixed bag for sure in the 80s than in the 70s. I think the 70s was more consistent and on an upper trajectory overall. I'd say I think every album got better than the last, where this one goes up and down a little bit. I think The River has a lot of good stuff on it, but it's just weighed down by filler. Nebraska is an almost flawless album that I could see people saying is boring if they're fucking stupid, but like it's a great record.
Those are the same people that think Born in the USA is a patriotic song.
Yeah. And probably only know Born in the USA and think that it's his best stuff, or they hate him because of Born in the USA and that's all they know.
Yeah.
But Tunnel of Love is hands down the biggest surprise. I'd say I'm as surprised by how much I love Tunnel of Love as I was surprised by how much I didn't really care for The River.
Okay.
So 80s are a wild decade for Bruce, and I think he felt that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially growing up on like 50s and 60s rock and roll to like kind of carve out a niche for himself in the 70s, get massively popular in the 80s, and then not know what to do with it. You know? Can you imagine what he does in a post-Nirvana world?
No, and I don't really want to imagine it, because by that time he's going to be in his 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like it's going to be the dad rock band playing with us at a show.
Literally, because it's when he becomes a father.
Right, and I'm looking forward to it out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
But even after I got to the end of Tunnel of Love, I was like, I would like to stop here, because this is the Bruce that I want to remember. Like this is where I want my journey to end, because we talked about it off mic. You said that after Tunnel of Love, everything it's a roller coaster for what you're going to get with him, which the 80s kind of already were a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. For me, like the lows were that much lower than the 70s, but the highs were so much higher than the 70s too.
Wow.
I'm curious about what's to come, but like it's probably going to be songs for me from here on out. Mm-hmm. Like the little bits and pieces that you say of some albums having motifs, some albums being responses to things. Mm-hmm. I'm interested. I don't know if anything's going to touch Tunnel of Love for me. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything's going to touch Nebraska too. I'm very curious to see what the final ranking is going to be. 90s, I know he's going to go grungy or like radio rocky, because he kind of is already radio rock, but radio rock was something different prior to the 90s, and then it became much more commercialized. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm expecting from him. I don't know.
What if I told you that 2 of those albums are the rock thing you would expect, and then the only other album in the 90s is basically a sequel to Nebraska?
That's Tom Joad, right? That's Goes to Tom Joad, yeah. I think what holds me back about my excitement for Tom Joad, it's not the whole thing like with the Mexican mine workers and anything like that, especially now that you gave context to him recognizing his privilege and saying, I want to write music and songs that uplift people that are not in my position, because I'm not the normal guy anymore.
Yeah.
I think what I'm anticipating there is he's not alone doing Tom Joad, right?
Not fully, no.
Right. It's more of a studio album. Yeah. So, like, I'm starting to come to my conclusion about Bruce and how I enjoy him when he's most vulnerable. I don't know when he's with other people he can be most vulnerable. So I hope Tom Joad proves me wrong. I hope that, like, as a sequel, it proves me wrong. You're a big movie guy. Sequels don't always hit, especially when they're trying to recapture the magic, just like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, even though it's better than Home Alone 1. And
oh my God.
that should be our Christmas episode when we get there. We should watch all of those. Talk about French Stewart.
I mean, only if we can watch Home Alone 3 and agree that it's fucking terrible.
It's definitely the worst one, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely going to be the worst. I think he needs to be on his own to be at his best. And I think that's indicative of someone who's got depression and knows about it. And I don't know whether or not he realizes that, but that's something that speaks to me. And that's something I have to figure out as we dive further into him.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. This has been great.
Yeah. Am I as harsh as you thought I would have been?
No. I think the context helps because I know we both read the book before, but it was a while ago for you. So anything I'm like illuminating again or bringing back to front of mind, like I think helps a lot. I didn't remember a lot of this stuff from reading it before, but the thing that's going to be so interesting going forward is we kind of have an idea, right, of what he's going to be in the 70s and 80s because that's like the golden era, right? But what use does the world have for Bruce Springsteen post 1987, you know?
I think the only use, like, and this is me being historical, like truly only historically, 2001 with 9/11.
Okay, you're getting a little ahead of me. But
that's like my only thing that I can
the Rising
imagine.
2002, yeah.
Right.
So that is a big one. But even more than like us wondering like what else has he got in a time past his like hit making years, he's wondering, how do I keep doing things to not just feel like I'm on the nostalgia circuit? And where that takes him is going to be very interesting to explore. And because you've been open-minded and have had some general knowledge of these albums before, like the most popular, well-known stuff from his hit-making time, I can't wait to see what you think going into like pretty uncharted waters that, you know, either the albums you haven't heard before for a reason, or the stuff that he's just making because he feels like it, you know?
So we were talking about Billy Joel earlier, and I'm this is not me belaboring a point. This is something that stood out to me. I was reading the New Yorker when I was in college. This stands out to me because this is where like my Billy Joel opinions really started. They were profiling him, I think, when he was starting his MSG residency, and they asked him if he was still making music. And he said, of course I make music. I'm a musician. I'm creative. I can't not make music. And so they said, well, can we hear it? And he goes, God, no. And he's like, I make it, I record it, I write it, whatever. And then it goes in a drawer. And they were like, well, people love you. They want to hear new Billy Joel. And he goes, no, you don't. Because you want to hear Piano Man Billy Joel.
Yeah.
You want to hear Anthony's song Billy Joel. Like you want to hear the hits Billy Joel. And he said, you don't want to hear what I'm writing because that's not it. And I'm reading that. I'm like, you piece of shit. I want to hear that. I think that's interesting. So I think you're right. Maybe I will find Bruce when he gets weird. If he gets weird, I don't even know. And don't tell me. But whenever he goes into whatever direction he goes in, for whatever reasons and whatever context, I would be into that probably more than hit making Bruce. Because then I can be like, all right, like you're truly like, you're going artiste.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just like, you're not trying to rest on laurels. And I respect that and I appreciate that. So even if you miss the dartboard, I'll still probably have a better time listening to that than Glory Days.
I remember a friend of mine telling me that Elton John got mad at Billy Joel about saying that because Elton John still makes music and still puts it out. And he's just like, the fuck, man? Like you're an artist. Put your music out there. People want to hear it, whether you think so or not. And I go back and forth on this because like I understand an artist's desire to preserve the memory, or maybe they're just too afraid of the rejection of like going somewhere new.
Sure.
Especially when Billy Joel's made some real crap in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I would get not wanting to hear people's opinions if they just don't get it. If I'm doing something that I really believe in, and they just want to keep reminding me that I already peaked. I get that. But that also makes me admire Bruce even more, that he's just like, I don't care.
Right.
I'm just going to
keep doing it. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the 80s, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we did it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week where we're wearing flannels and have children. I mean, Bruce. Bruce is wearing flannels and having children. Thanks, bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Filler. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review this episode to help others find it. For more recommendations and exploration of media we love, go to afterschoolspecial.xyz and follow Filler on Blue Sky. See you next time.